All right, so in order to solve an equation, you have to understand what an equation is and the parts of an equation, right? So an equation is a mathematical statement that's saying that two things are equal, right? So equal sign, right? And then the two things on the side of an equal sign are expressions, right? The expressions are the two things on the side of the equal sign. We're going to say like, this is going to be an expression, and this is going to be an expression. An expression can be really long, or it can be really short. Okay, these are going to be expressions. Expressions. Okay, and then expressions are made up of terms. Okay, they're made up of terms. Okay, and terms are comprised of variable terms and constant terms. Constant terms. Okay, so your variable term is going to have something that has the variable in it, like the letter, like say x. Okay, and this is the variable. Okay, and then it's going to have a coefficient, like 3. You know, and these are bound together or bonded together with multiplication. Okay, it could be like 1/3. It could be like 1/3 x, which can also be represented like x over 3, like that. Okay, also represented like that, which is division. Okay, those are different ways to express the variable term. Okay, a constant is something as easy as like 3 or 5 or -7, right? Those are the constant terms, and they're added or subtracted to the variable term. It can be as complicated as like 4 squared, or pi, or e, or -e, which is like, you know, value of the value of e is like whatever. So it's a number, right? Or it could be a square root of something. Okay, and for instance, if it's a square root of something, you can't add this type of constant to that type of constant, but otherwise, or you can't combine this type of constant to that type of constant, but otherwise you can, for the most part, solve the constants and add them together. But you couldn't, if you had like 3 times pi, you couldn't add that to just a 3, right? And just like you couldn't add like a 3 to the square root of 2 to a 3, you couldn't add those together because those aren't what we say like terms. You couldn't combine these together. But you could combine a 3 plus a 3 and make it 6. And you could combine like a 3 and a -1 to make it 2. Right? So those are like how you combine the constants. But anyway, let's get back to building our expressions. So an expression is at least one term or more. Okay? And if you smash all the terms together with multiplication or division, it is still just one term. Okay? So like a term is anything made up of constants or variables joined together with multiplication or division. Okay? Like 3x is joined together with multiplication or division, and then multiple terms are joined together to make expressions, or you can have just one expression. So for instance, we have, we'll say, I'm going to make my variable term red. Okay, so I have 3x divided by 4, okay, also known as 3/4 x, okay, but typically it's written like that, okay. 3x divided by 4, and then we'll say like, I'll make my constants green, -2, and then we'll say equals, I'll just say like 2 x, and then plus 5. Okay, I just made up some numbers. I have no idea what this is going to end up equaling, but these are the expressions, right? These are the variable terms of the expressions, and these are the constant terms to the expressions. Now, something to note about expressions, right? Especially the variable terms, if it's x, right, they don't show an invisible 1 in front of it. Okay? And if it's the first term of an expression, they don't show the invisible positive sign in front of it. Okay, so these signs, let me center that equal sign easier. These signs here, or these terms here, have a positive sign in front of them. They're just invisible, and by convention, they're not shown. But these signs belong, these positive, invisible positive signs, right, belong to the term right behind them. This -2 sign belongs to the -2, and this plus sign belongs to the 5. It belongs to these terms. Okay? So that is that. Those are the expressions with the associated terms, and this 2 is called the coefficient. This is called the coefficient. The coefficient, maybe I spelled wrong, but it's the coefficient of the variable term. Okay? It's the coefficient of the variable term. Okay, so now we've identified all these things. That's the coefficient. This is the variable term. This is the coefficient of the variable term. Another variable term, that's the coefficient of the variable term. Okay, so now let's solve this equation. So what this means is, like, this is a mathematical statement that says this stuff equals this stuff. The value of all this equals the value of all this. And when I solve for x, if I do it right, I plug x into here, I math it out, I plug the value that I solve for x here, I math it out, and the value that I get when I plug x into here will be the same value as that. They'll equal the same numerical value. And so I'll show you that. So here we go, we'll do it. We'll figure this out. Okay? So we got to solve for x. The first thing you can do it multiple times. There's 4 like basic properties of equalities that we follow. So it's just saying, hey, I'm going to keep this equation balanced. I can do anything I want to the side of the equation, one side of the equation, in order to like math one side of the equation to get x by itself, or isolate x, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to solve for x, as long as I do it to the other side of the equation too, right? So I'm going to, first off, I'm going to try to get all of my constants on one side and my variables on the other side. Okay, so to do that, I'm gonna start with my constant terms. Okay, so I have this -2 on this side, I have a +2 on this side, or a +5 on this side. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna move the 2 over to here. That's what I decide to do, right? You choose your adventure, right? It doesn't really matter which one you want to do. So to get rid of the 2 on this side, I want to make that 0, right? I want to get rid of all my constants on that side, so in order to make this 0, I have to add 2. Okay? But that just made this side of the equation too many, right? So I have to add 2 to this side as well, right? So that will now eliminate the constants on that side, because -2 and a +2 combined make 0. And then over here, if I combine a +5 and a +2, I get a +7. Okay? Now I didn't do anything else with any other terms, so I'm gonna rewrite my equation. Every step, 3x divided by 4. I'm just gonna bring these 2 down, equals 2x. So now I have my constant terms, +7, all consolidated. Maybe I'll rewrite that a little bit more neat, plus 7, and then I have this term. Okay, so now I have this 2x over on this side, and I have the 7x over here. So now, in order to get the 7x over to here, or sorry, the 2x over to here, and get my 7x all by its, and get the variable term all by itself, and the constant term all by itself, I need to get the 2 off of this side, and then over to this side. Okay, so to get the 7 all by itself on this side, and the x all by itself on this side, I'm going to subtract 2x from this side, right? So that's going to take care of my 2x. So 2x combined with negative 2x is 0x, so just 0. But I still have to add 2x to this side to make it balanced. So 2x to this side. Now how do I add 2x to 3/4 x? So let me pause this real quick. All right, so adding two things together. So I want to add 2x plus 3/4 x. Right, 3/4 x, also written as 3x over 4. Also written as that. So it's another way to write, how I write 2x as a fraction, I write like that. So in order to add these fractions together, they have to have the same denominator. So how do I unsimplify 2x? Well, I have to make this denominator 4, right? So in order to make this denominator 4, I have to multiply this by 1 in the form of 4 over 4. Okay, so if I multiply this in the form of 1 of 4 over 4, I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 4 over 4. Okay, so this is going to become 16, that's not right, sorry. Right, so 8x divided by 4 plus 3x divided by 4. Right, so now if I did that, so you can see that 8 divided by 4 is 2, right? So I didn't change the value of this at all, right? I multiplied it by 1 in the form of 4 over 4, okay, to make the bottom 4. So that I could now multiply these, or sorry, add these two together so that I can get rid of, I can isolate and I can consolidate or combine my x terms. So 8 plus 3 is 11x divided by 4. So there is my new x term, which is going to be 11x over 4. I didn't do anything equals, I didn't do anything with my constant term right here, so I'm just going to move that down, equals 7. All right, so I'm almost there. Okay, now I got 2 more steps. Now this is a denominator, this is a fraction. This is 11/4 x, right, or 11x divided by 4. Okay, so now I need to get rid of, I'm just trying to solve for x, right? So the first thing I want to do is get rid of the denominator here. In order to get rid of this denominator, I need to do the opposite of what this denominator represents. This denominator represents fractions, and which fractions represent division. Okay, so in order to get rid of this 4, I need to multiply this whole fraction by 4. Let's use this, let's do burgundy, by 4, okay? But since that changes the value of this, so if I change the value of one side of the equation, I need to change the value of the other side of the equation. Okay, so I need to change this into, so this gets rid of that, making this 1. So 11x divided by 1 is 11x equals, and then 7 times 4 is 28. 28. All right, so now 11x is 28, and now I got to figure out what just x is. right? So if 11x is 28, then I have to, and this is bonded together with multiplication, then I have to divide it by the coefficient of the variable term, which is this 11 right here. All right, so I'm going to divide this by 11. This will change the value of this term, of this side of the equation. So I have to divide this by 11. Right, so this is going to end up being, this ends up being 1. So x equals, and then 28 divided by 11 is 2, and let's see, this 28, that's 22, and then there's 6 left over. It's 22 and 6/11. Right, 22 and 6/11, or 2 and 6/11, or if you want to write in decimal form, ends up being 2.545 repeating. Right, so that is that answer right there. So that's how you solve equations. I hope that helps.